I'm Lucy Edwards, Director of Strategic Engagement at Metaport and VHT Studios. And today I have my guest flying all the way from Wisconsin, Lori Muller. And Lori is a U.S. President of Exit Realty Corp International. But now we are in Tampa, Florida. So that is quite a difference from Wisconsin, which I'm sure is beautiful right now.
It's the best time of the year when you're living in Wisconsin. So our daughter goes to college down here, and so I come down to visit, and I can still work from here and get meetings like this done while I'm visiting. So it's a work trip and a personal trip all in one.
Yep, it's pleasure and work all together. Business. Would like to start with talking about your success story, and we had a little chat before we started the interview itself, and you were saying how you started your career in sales and your entrepreneurial spirit made it happen, and you had your own business and it was great and successful, and then you grew into real estate. So let's start from the very beginning.
Very beginning would be, I got into sales really, I dropped out of college because I didn't really know what I wanted to be when I grew up, right? Mm-hmm. And I took a job. I answered an ad in the newspaper at the time, travel the U.S., fun in the sun, and it was for selling cleaner door to door. And so I started that journey in September of 1998. And I worked through and did door-to-door sales, traveling almost 10 years, living in hotels, never having a place to call my own. And then I, for briefly about 2 years, left the chemical company I was working for, and myself and another partner, we started our own chemical brand and did that for a couple of years, traveling over to Guam, Puerto Rico, and staying stateside and building our own crew. Mm-hmm. So we had multiple people, 50, 60 people that worked for us and went door to door and sold cleaner. And then from that cleaning experience, I learned so much about relationships and sales and rejection, right? Because it's just a numbers game. You get some rejection with door-to-door sales. Everybody's not happy that you're at their door. And then when I moved back to Wisconsin, I got involved in corporate America a little bit. And that entrepreneurial spirit, I felt like I was losing it. And so that's when I got into real estate. I left corporate America and went into real estate. And I was an agent. And then from an agent, I was very successful in my first 4 months in the business. And I had started in September of that year when I got in. And by the end of the year, I was recruited from a big brand, from an independent, and went to work for them and started a team. And I started the first team in my city that wasn't partner team, like meaning a husband and a wife or a mother and a daughter, a true rainmaker team. And so I started my team, and we worked together for about 4.5 years. And then I bought my first Exit franchise. Okay. So I was the first one in the state of Wisconsin back in 2007. And we all know what happened after 2007.
Oh, yes, yeah.
So I purchased right before everything kind of changed in the dynamics of real estate.
Let's call it the right word. Fell apart.
It fell apart. But fortunately, my business partner at the time, he was in the REO side of the business. And so the REO side of the business was astronomically busy, and I was in new construction and land development. So I went from a practitioner standpoint to an operations, and I took care of the operations of the brokerage while the REO side of the business really maintained us through the recession. And then as we grew through the recession, I started growing the brokerage. We started hiring agents. We started opening up multiple locations. And then I was really doing this position before I got the position with corporate, because I was helping brokers across the country and doing some things with the National Women's Council of Realtors and NAR from a leadership standpoint. And then Steve Morris, our founder, approached me and said, we would love for you to be part of our leadership team. And they created a position for me.
Well,
because there wasn't a position. So I was initially the vice president of the U.S. operations. And I did that for about a year. And then they promoted me into the president position. And that's when I sold my brokerages.
That is a fascinating story. What a success story. But I think it's the foundation that you had also when you were in sales and when you were learning about the importance of relationships, that people will come back to you over and over. And then also you working with someone who was actually employed by you throughout, like Puerto Rico and other parts of the world, where you were giving this leadership and the support and providing the experience.
It kind of goes back to that saying, if it's meant to be, it's up to me. And I learned that at a very young age from my parents. And so I just knew anything that I wanted to do was possible as long as I put in the work. And that's something that I see in this industry is a lot of people see what they see on HGTV and think real estate is so easy, let me get my license. But then they get involved in it and they don't do the work that you need to do on a day-to-day basis in order to really thrive in this business.